Hey everybody, welcome to another Own Your Health Collective Lunch and Learn session. Thank you so much for sharing your lunch break with me. I am really excited by today's topic, and it is probably, if not the favourite topic that I love to focus on, which is mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is one of those terms which can have some real negative connotations attached to it. There can be a lot of stigma around it. It can be bandied around, wrongly actually, but one that has the potential to be really profound for your health, your well-being, and your overall happiness. So I want to try and dispel some of the myths that are out there around mindfulness, and I also want to talk to you about what it is, why it's important, and then go through some of the ways that we can practice mindfulness in our day without adding to our already hefty to-do list. So mindfulness, what is it? Now, there are tons of amazing professionals out there who have done so much research and study into the practice of mindfulness, and there's a lot of different definitions, but really what mindfulness is, it is about being aware in the present moment. So you might think to yourself that you are present right now as you're eating your lunch and you're watching me talk, but I can guarantee you that your attention on this video may only last a few seconds, 30 seconds, a minute if you're lucky. We are hardwired in such a way that we are, pulled into different directions. There are so many distractions around us at the moment with these incredible technology devices that we have. But what we are seeing is that we are not able to keep our attention on one thing very, very long. So as much as you have very good intentions to sit here and watch me and listen to me, I can guarantee you that you might get distracted by the people talking behind you. Your phone might buzz, you might get an email, your phone might ring, you might think about what you're going to have for dinner, think about where you're going to go tomorrow. You can see that our mind just completely can wander from here, there, everywhere. And before we know it, we're completely stressed, overwhelmed, and frustrated by how much we've got to do. So the biggest misconception when it comes to mindfulness is a lot of people think that it's some hippie thing, that it's something that the monks do, or you've got to be cross-legged with your fingers in a mudra, meditating. And it really couldn't be further from the truth. And what I do want to just share with you today as well, and if there's one thing that you can take away, is that mindfulness doesn't need to add to your day. It doesn't need to be something else that you do. The beauty of mindfulness is that when we build up our practice around mindfulness, that we can actually automatically bring it into our day, and it just becomes second nature. So for anyone who joined me last week and watched the video last week around positive emotions, and if you didn't get the chance to watch it, I would strongly recommend go and check that one out, that I spoke about how many thoughts a human has. So there's a lot of numbers out there, but it's about 65,000, 70,000 thoughts on average. We have that many thoughts floating in our heads. A lot of the time, these thoughts sit in the back of our subconscious mind, but they're there. And at different times, these thoughts will flood forward to our conscious mind and we become aware of them. You might recall, when you go to sleep at night, or you're trying to get to sleep, or you wake up during the night and all of a sudden, the fact that you didn't call someone last week come into your mind. That is the power of our subconscious mind and the amount of thoughts that we have. And so what I would love for you to have a think about is, are you mindful? So F-U-L-L, so is your mind full, or are you mindful? So M-I-N-D-F-U-L. There's a big difference when we have a mind full of thoughts and actions and tasks and things that we've got to do, compared to if we are mindful, in that we are aware in the present moment. We are having one thought, we are doing one task. How many times, if you can reflect on your day, or maybe even up until where we are today, so your morning thus far, have you been mindful, or are you being mindful? So is your mind full of so many things you've got to do, or have you been able to actually be totally present in the moment? So last week I also spoke about our thoughts and what our thoughts are. So not only are we having so many thoughts, actually 95% of our thoughts are the same thoughts. So our thoughts are constantly recycled. And this is where we can always find ourselves in a bit of a spin around stress and burnout and frustration, even anxiety and depression, in that we are constantly recycling the same thoughts. And we get caught up in that spiral of listening to our thoughts or believing in our thoughts and then becoming overwhelmed because we don't know what action to take. And so what I love around mindfulness is that we can start to tune into our thoughts and really push away some of those thoughts that we don't want to hear or we don't want to take notice of. And I'll talk to you more about through some of the practices that we can through mindfulness. So why is mindfulness important? Why has it become such a buzzword lately? And I don't think it has become a buzzword. I think it's just that a lot of more people are actually becoming aware of just how beneficial being mindful is to our life, to our sanity, our health, our well-being, and our level of happiness that we desire. You know, as I touched on before, in a world where we have so many distractions, so many lights, buzzing devices, emails, everybody wanting a piece of us. Our work day has become virtually 24/7. If you think about it, you know, we're still contactable by clients or work colleagues. We are not switching off as we used to because we just don't have that means around us. And, you know, there's also this societal expectation that we should be on. We should be contactable. If I send someone a message, I should expect a message back pronto. And we've built up these expectations. And so I love that mindfulness is coming to the front, to the foreground, and actually giving people tools to slow things down, tune into their body, have some self-awareness, and actually, you know, tackle things, build connections, you know, just stress less and try not to become overwhelmed. We're also stressed more than ever. You know, some of the big things that I see from people, not just in workplace, but other clients that I work with as well, you know, we're expected to do more and more in such a small amount of time. And there's so much pressure. And, you know, there's pressure around parents as well who have got kids and they've got to be at work, but they've got to get their kids to school. Pressure that we're not, you know, spending enough time with our kids, or maybe we're not being a good enough worker. You know, we're just in this vortex of expectation and pressure, and that's really having a massive impact on our stress levels and our health and our well-being in particular. So if I haven't conveyed enough how much I love mindfulness, you're going to learn now. So the beautiful thing about mindfulness is that it's a great way for us to help manage our stress. It can help us also manage our priorities. So if you think about your life and your day and your week and your month, you know, we get ourselves caught up in this spiral of shoulding all over ourselves. So I should do this, I should go there, I should be here, I should show up for this, I should do this work. And we just get so much pressure, whether we put it on ourselves or it's external, but we feel like we should be doing things to appease other people. And what I love about mindfulness is that we can come back to ourselves and actually understand, okay, what is most important to me right now? What are my priorities? And this is what I'm going to do because this is important to me, this is important to my family, this is important to my health and my well-being, and this is what I need right now. And I spoke about this last week as well, that it's not about, you know, being rude to people and saying no to things, or, you know, not doing this, or upsetting people by not doing things. We can do and say no in a very tactful way. And what you do start to realize is that when you are mindful and you are appreciative of what's important to you and what you prioritize in life, it just comes naturally. Saying no just comes naturally to you. And, you know, when you're in alignment with what's important to you, you feel like you're thriving in your health and your well-being. And, you know, you probably are thriving in your health and well-being as well. The other great thing about mindfulness is that we can check in with our stress response. So if you think about it, we have stress all around us, and there's different types of stress, and I will do another topic around stress, but we've got distress, which is the bad stress, which makes us go into that fight or flight mode, in that we are just stressed because we've got to get something done, or something's gone wrong and I don't know how to deal with it. And we get so caught up in that stress, and our whole body responds through that fight or flight response. Then we've also got eustress, and eustress, can be classed as good stress, in that maybe we are excited by this deadline, we're excited by this new job, excited by this new project. Yes, I'm feeling a little bit stressed, but actually I'm seeing this as a challenge. I'm seeing this as an opportunity to grow and develop. And so even though it is a level of stress, we can look at it as good stress. And that's what mindfulness can do. There are so many ways that we can respond to stress. The big thing around stress is that it's not the stress itself. It's the way we respond to stress, which has the negative impact on our health. And when we are mindful, we can be aware of what our response will be to that stress. So if I give an example, parents with kids, I've been going through this the last couple of nights myself, where I'm putting my daughter to bed, and anyone with young kids knows that is a task in itself. And I've had a couple of stressful nights where it's time for her to go to bed. She's overtired. I can see clearly she's overtired. I'm feeling tired as well. And, everybody, we have those moments where we get frustrated, and we lash out in terms of frustration and overwhelm, because we just want them to go to sleep. But when we practice mindfulness, we can actually choose our response to the stress. So one thing that I'm very big on when I know my daughter's in that state is I want to just cuddle her. I just want to give her a hug. And that's the tend and befriend response. And I don't want to go into the stress responses, because that is another topic, but you can see that when we can identify and be self-aware in terms of when a stressful situation is coming up, we can choose our path and respond to it in a way which is not going to negatively impact our health, but also not negatively impact the people around us, particularly if it's someone else who's causing that stress for us. And of course, self-awareness, there's nothing greater than being aware of what makes you happy, what makes you feel healthy, what makes you feel well. And, we know very well when something is going against what we value or what's important to us. And so through mindfulness, we can be aware and we can understand our feelings and emotions. And the beautiful thing about mindfulness is that we can cultivate that experience into every day, and we don't even have to maybe even talk about it or share it with anybody else. It's just all in here. And so if ever we're having a stressful situation, we can tune in and say, okay, well, I've been here before, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm going to do. And we're stopping, and we're actually taking that moment to be aware in terms of how am I actually feeling, and now how am I going to respond. The big thing with mindfulness, and probably the biggest misconception that I hear as well, is that people think because I've got a brain and I can breathe, I should be able to be mindful. And like with our physical body, in terms of we're going to go and run, or we're going to do a gym or play football or cricket or basketball, we need to train our mind. So just like we train our physical body, we need to train our mind as well. And what I say to everybody who's new to mindfulness is you've got to start small. So when I started practicing meditation, I started with 1 minute a day. And I know that seems like nothing, but if you were to go now and meditate for 1 minute, I'd love to see if you could last that 1 minute and keep your attention on your breath for that whole minute. It's very, very tricky, particularly if you are new to meditation. So it's a practice, it's a work in progress, and I can tell you that the biggest thing that I would love for you to know is that it's a work in progress. Forever are we in a work in progress mode. So even with our health, our well-being, our level of happiness, we're always in a state of work in progress. We never ever reach a pinnacle destination. We can constantly improve and grow. And if we keep that lifelong learner mentality in our mind, then we can see opportunities for further growth and further development. So, what are some of the ways that you can practice mindfulness? Simple breathing. We all breathe, right? but we get so distracted that we just do it automatically. If we could just stop, and maybe in the moment where we're feeling stressed, or maybe we're going into a big meeting at work, and we stop and we take one deep breath. So right down from your belly, we're taking a deep breath, and then we're releasing it all out. That is an amazing form of mindfulness. Told you, completely simple, take you a couple of seconds, but we are being mindful in that moment. And I would encourage you to perhaps try that. See how you feel after you've done that. See how your energy shifts. Another great breathing exercise is a 2-minute breathing exercise. So I have done this when I've been out at work and I've come home, or I have to go and pick my daughter up from kinder, and I'll sit in the car before I get out and I'll spend a couple of minutes taking some deep breaths. And even if you can't spare 2 minutes, maybe even try 6 deep breaths. You're just stopping. And what that's doing is it's clearing your mind from what you've just done prior, and now helping you transition into the next stage of your day. And again, a very powerful exercise to be able to slowly breathe right from your belly, real deep breath, and just connect with your breath. The best way to be mindful is through the breath, and we all have it, and it's something so simple at our disposal. Unitasking. So, women, ladies out there, I'm sorry to share, we are very big on spruiking that we are fabulous multitaskers, but I will ask you, how many times have you multitasked that you've actually felt like or remembered that you've done each of those tasks? How great have you done each of those tasks when you multitasked? Probably not, because we are constantly maybe focusing on one over the others that we're doing, and then our attention shifts and we focus on that one, so then we're letting that one down. Think about at work. If you're on a phone call, you get an email, you start writing an email, someone starts talking to you at the same time, and you're still tapping away. How mindful are you in that moment? Not very. So the practice of unitasking is a really great, simple way that we can be mindful. So if you're in the kitchen cooking dinner, focus on cooking dinner. If you're on a phone call, focus on talking to someone on the phone. If you write an email, whatever you're doing, focus on one thing at a time. And what you start to see is that you become mindful, you become absorbed in that activity that you're doing. And not only that, you could potentially get into that state of flow, which is that pinnacle state of feeling like I'm doing something that I love, and you're just absorbed in that, and whatever else around you does not matter. A fabulous state to get into. So that's unitasking. Mindful listening, again, a very, very simple act that we can do. Again, when you've got people talking to you, how often are you there listening to them without whilst thinking about how you're going to respond, particularly if they're telling us something we don't like. So we get caught up in wanting to respond to them straight away without perhaps even letting them finish. Mindful listening, again, is a really great way to give that person your attention. So showing them respect by listening to what they have to say, you're being completely present and aware in the moment, and you are experiencing their emotion, their feeling, their energy as they're talking. Then when they finish, you can respond. And so what you're demonstrating is the way that you respect people is the way you want to be respected back. So mindful listening, again, is a very powerful practice that we can do, and one that we can cultivate quite easily. It is something that you probably have to work at because, again, we get caught up in these distractions. But, maybe it's when you're on the phone, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm going to listen to that person, and I'm not going to respond until they have finished. Another great one, mindful eating. So, again, I keep saying again, but how often are we eating dinner or breakfast and we're eating on the run? Maybe when you're eating your lunch. I know that perhaps you're distracted eating your lunch while you're watching me right now, but we're scoffing down our food. And in scoffing down our food, we're actually affecting the way that food digests. So if we can be mindful while we're eating and actually present in the moment while we're eating, chewing the food slowly, letting the food go down and digest properly, that does wonders for our health and well-being. Plus also, the way that you feel bloatedness, as well as, perhaps even your waistline too. Because when we are just scoffing food down and we're in a rush, we're not absorbing the nutrients of the food. Some other great ways, meditation. I could do a whole session on meditation because there's a lot of stigma and misconceptions around meditation as well. But a fabulous way to, start the day and end the day. So I do a 10-minute meditation when I wake up in the morning, and I do a 10-minute meditation when I go to bed. And for me, not just as a mum, but as a business owner in particular, meditation has changed my life. Definitely helps me sleep a lot better, and it just helps me collect my thoughts and manage my thoughts rather than getting swamped and swallowed up by all the thoughts and exciting things I've got going on in my business and my life as well. I spoke about this last week, gratitude. So, writing out, spending a mindful couple of minutes before you go to bed or when you wake up in the morning, writing out what you are grateful for. That is a form of mindfulness. And another great one is journaling. So I wake up in the morning and I do about 5 minutes of journaling. I talk about how I'm feeling, talk about what my intention is for the day, how I want to feel, how I want to show up, and a beautiful practice that just, again, gets your thoughts out of your mind onto paper and really focusing on the positive things rather than focusing on the things that could go wrong. And so this allows us to create the opportunity for development and growth and not get stuck in what's going wrong. We can focus on, how can I turn this around into a positive and really developing that growth mindset. There's loads of ways that you can practice mindfulness, and I know I've spoken at length about a couple of these, plus also what mindfulness is. It is a subject and a topic which is so close to my heart, and one which, has been a game changer for my life as a mum in particular, because, I know only a few years ago when I was feeling unhappy and overwhelmed by this working parent juggle that I was not present. I was here, there, everywhere, always focusing on what's coming next, never ever focusing on where I was in the present moment. And so when I made that conscious decision that I needed to change something, mindfulness was the first practice that I went to, and I've been able to develop those things and bring those things into my life, which form part of my morning, form part of my evening, but are also filtered out throughout my day. And they don't feel like chores, they don't feel like tasks. They're things that make me a better person, a better mother, a wife, a worker, business person, etc. So there you have it. I did warn you that it is a favourite topic of mine. It's one that I could just talk to anyone, and so I do appreciate that you've given me your time whilst you're having your lunch, or even post after your lunch, to hear about mindfulness and some of the things that I really value and how mindfulness has helped me. So I will see you again next week at the same time with another topic for Own Your Health Collective. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.